Shall we hit the road? Secretariat. The noise comes from here, huh? From the secretariat. طاب مساءكم جميعا. نكمل البند 7، جائزة المنظمة العالمية للأرصاد الجوية وغيرها من جوائز المنظمة. الإعلان عن الفائزين بالجوائز الأخرى. أولا أود أن أتقدم بجزيل الشكر إلى لجنة اختيار جائزة المنظمة العالمية للأرصاد الجوية ورئيستها الدكتورة كرنواتي على جهودهم. الفائز بجائزة المنظمة العالمية للأرصاد الجوية هو بروفيسور جيان من الصين. We can give him hand، يعني ممكن نصفق له. والآن أود أن أدعو رئيس لجنة اختيار جائزة العلماء الشباب السيد ألبرت مارتيز لتقديم مداولات اللجنة. تفضل. هل هو موجود سيد ألبرت؟ تفضل.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I'm here. After a very short break, lunch short break we had after the IMO and also the other meeting we had. I would like to report back to the EC regarding the WMO Young Scientist Award for 2025 Selection Committee. I don't know if I can get the presentation. If that is not the case, I will continue. Okay, that's fine. So the members of the selection committee was Arlene Lane, yes, thank you, Secretariat. Yes, as I already mentioned, Arlene was actually one of the members of the selection committee, and we had Art Hassanea, alternate to Karnawati, and we had Christoph, and I was serving as the chair of this selection committee. I would like to tell you that we had also the assistance of John from the Secretariat, and there were some challenges, but also some opportunity right now to address to you regarding our process. Next, please. So the selection committee, we had an in-person meeting on June 17. And we considered all the papers that were pre-selected by the regional presidents. And we only got 2 papers, one of Region 3 and one of Region 4. And that is something that we start discussing how to move forward with only 2 papers. The selection committee was also informed that 3 regions, Region 1, 2, and 6, were not able to produce a final regional nomination because we were informed there are about 25 nominations for the Young Science Award that were received at that time. But still only 19 went through, and we received as the selection committee only 2. So that is a very, a different situation that we have right now. So we had some consideration to be taken, and we would like to put this forward for the members, EC members. So actually, what we're thinking right now is that we would like to have some time to further elaborate on this and not bring a winner today forward. This is actually our proposal to the EC. We would like to have more participation of the other young scientists from the other region, so that we will be able to elaborate a little bit more in depth regarding the papers presented. So that is actually our consideration. Next slide, please. And that's why we recommend actually to find a way to that the different regional associations will be able to proceed and send their nomination to the secretariat, so that we'll be able to work on the other papers too. In light of the timing, what we think is actually it's important then to, for now, there are 2 ways moving forward. There will be a extraordinary EC after the extraordinary Congress in October. That is a possibility where we can confirm the nominations and the winner. But also, what we can do is further work on this, and that we, for next year at the EC, we will be able to put 2 winners for that year. So that is actually our recommendation forward, because as I already mentioned, it's not, it gives you a strange feeling that you only have 2 papers. And there's a lot of more papers that we could not elaborate on it. So that's why that is the feeling that we would like to present to the EC. And that's why we're bringing forward the 2 solution, not to continue the procedure for this EC, but still that we will be working together online to see if they will be able to present something to this next EC. Next, please. And yeah, I don't know if I have to say this, but we thank the chair of the selection committee that have been serving the membership, the Young Scientist Award for, I think, 5+ years. But now I would like to give the opportunity to other EC members to take this chairmanship. So that's why we discuss it also with the secretariat, and that's why I would like to inform you that I will step down as the chair of the selection committee. And so the new chair will have the task how to deal with the nomination and the process forward regarding all the 20 papers that was presented, that we have to take into account, not only those 2 that we have received as the selection committee. With that, I would like to thank you for your attention. Back to you, Mr. President.
شكرا لك ألبرت، ونشكرك على مجهودك السابق وأعضاء فريق اللجنة. شكرا لك. الآن أدعو رئيس لجنة اختيار جائزة فيسالا الدكتور مهاباترا لتقديم نتائج مداولاته. تفضل سيدي.
So thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon to all the distinguished delegates. I, on behalf of the selection committee for the Professor Dr. Bilo Maisala Awards, present the outcome of the meetings of the committee. First of all, I would like to inform that this committee is headed by myself, Dr. Elena, Dr. David, and Dr. Michelle James are the distinguished members of the selection committee. And the selection committee has been supported by Dr. Isabel from the WMO Secretariat. I thank all my distinguished colleagues in the selection committee and the secretariat, especially Dr. Isabel, for bringing out this report on the outcome of the meeting of the selection committee for EC 79 for the purpose of Professor Bilo Baisala Awards. The selection committee for the Professor Dr. Bilo Baisala Awards met twice on Monday, 16 June 2025, and on Wednesday, 18 June at 8:30. The selection committee recalled that EC 78 decided not to award the 29th Professor Dr. Bilo Baisala Award for an outstanding research paper on instruments and methods of observations, and the 10th Professor Dr. Bilo Baisala Award for the development and implementation of instruments and methods of observation in developing countries during EC 78, but to request the Secretariat to re-advertise both awards and to consider the new submissions, papers published in 2022 and 2023 at the occasion of EC 79. The members of the selection committee reviewed the new submissions received for the 28th granting of the Professor Dr. Bilo Baisala Award for an outstanding research paper, and for the 9th granting of the Professor Dr. Bilo Baisala Award for the development and implementation of the instruments and methods of observation in developing countries. The members of the selection committee also reviewed the assessments received from the 3 scientists who served as assessors for the submitted papers. The selection committee noted the following. Following the re-advertisement, some new submissions were received, 3 for the Outstanding Paper Award and 3 for the Developing Country Award. Some of the papers were not eligible because they were not published in 2022 or 2023, or because the number of submissions that can be received from one permanent representative was exceeded. For the Developing Country Award, only one paper is found to be eligible. Unfortunately, the quality of this paper does not reach the expected standard of quality to be considered for this award. For the Outstanding Paper Award, the 2 valid submissions were both of high quality and of good scientific value. The procedures demonstrated in one of them can be applied directly by WMO members, while the other one will still require significant work before the proposed process can be operationalized. As a consequence, the selection committee recommends unanimously that EC 79 may consider not to grant the Developing Country Award, to grant the Outstanding Paper Award to S.T. Buisan, R. Serrano Notevoli, J. Kochendorfer, and F.J. Bello Milan for the paper Adjustment of Solid Precipitation during the Filomena Extreme Snowfall event in Spain, from observations to true precipitation, published in Bulletin of the American Meteorological Society, E2570, E2578. Regarding the number of submissions, selection committee is of the view that the number of submissions was still low in spite of the special effort made last year. Efforts need to be continued by the Secretariat, by INFCOM, and by permanent representatives to widely advertise the awards to members, including to the academic sector, as well as through national meteorological societies. New mechanisms need to be tested towards obtaining more relevant submissions from more diverse members. Recognizing the high workload of permanent representatives and their offices, and the challenges that some of them may face in investing resources for the advertisement of the awards, as well as for the collection of proposals and selection of suitable papers for submission on behalf of their country. The selection committee proposes to do a trial for the submission of the 2026 awards and to allow submissions originating not only from the permanent representatives, but also from chairs of INFCOM subsidiary bodies, standing committees, advisory groups, expert teams, and task teams. provided they are not authors or co-authors of the submitted papers. Such submissions would have to follow the same rules as for the submissions received by the permanent representatives. In view of limiting the number of additional persons allowed to submit papers, and as the award is focused on developments in the domain of instruments and methods of observations, which is part of the mandate of INFCOM, it is proposed to limit this right to chairs of the INCOM subsidiary bodies. As a consequence, it is proposed to reflect this in draft decision 7.1/1 EC79 as follows. The Executive Council awards the 29th Professor Dr. Bilo Vaisala Award for an outstanding research paper on instruments and methods observations to S.T. Busen et al. For the paper Adjustment of Solid Precipitation during the Filomena extreme snowfall event in Spain from observations to true precipitation, published in Bulletin of American Meteorological Society. Does not award the 10th Professor Dr. Bilo Vaisala Award for the development and implementation of instruments and methods of observation in developing countries. Allows as a trial for the 2026 Professor Dr. Bilo Vaisala Awards towards obtaining more submissions from a wider range of members, submissions originating from chairs of INCOM subsidiary bodies, standing committees, advisory groups, expert teams, and task teams, provided they are not authors or co-authors of the submitted papers. Request the President of INCOM to strengthen efforts for widely advertising the Professor Dr. Bilo Vaisala Awards to members, including the academic sector and possibly through national meteorological societies. So thank you very much, Mr. President.
شكرا لك دكتور مهاباترا وأعضاء فريق اللجنة. يمكن الآن عرض أسماء الفائزين. إذن الآن المجال مفتوح لأي تعليقات، تفضلوا. Christoph.
Thank you, President. I just would like to come back to the Young Scientist Award. And first of all, I would like to thank Albert for his excellent role that he did as chair of the committee. Thanks a lot for that. But I also would like to add some personal comment on the role of the Young Scientist Award, because yesterday we were discussing that the WMO Youth Action Plan is really an important thing. And we all agreed that including our younger generation into our activity is key for the future of the WMO. So the nomination of the Young Science Award is more than just simply a science award. It is also showing that the WMO knows that the young scientists are important and that science-based decisions are important for our famous cycle in meteorology, in weather, climate, water, and environment. And I think this is a unique opportunity for WMO to show to the younger generation that we care about them. And this is also an excellent entry point to enter into this family of the meteorological med services and to the WMO. And if you need an example of that this is really a good thing. So I just would like to state that I once received this Young Scientist Award. That was in a long, long time ago. It was in 1996. And looking backward, it was an important moment for me to come into this community and come into WMO. So I urge everybody that you have young people and try to nominate them so that we have an excellent list of candidates that we can choose. Thank you very much.
شكرا. هل تقترح علينا اقتراح كريستوف؟
Yeah, my suggestion to the text is I haven't seen that the award for the Young Scientist Award is completely deleted. Could we just state that the award is postponed and to the next EC? Yeah, or is it written already down there? So I haven't seen that. Okay, so it is.
Yes.
It's okay.
أي ملاحظات أخرى؟ إذن لا أرى أي ملاحظات أو تعليق على هذا القرار ومسودة القرار. إذن نبارك للفائزين، وبهذا نعتمد مسودة المشروع القرار 711، وعليه أدعو الأمانة العامة إلى استكمال مسودة مشروع القرار 711 بأسماء الفائزين. إذن يتم الاعتماد. ننتقل الآن إلى البند 8 من جدول الأعمال الشؤون المالية والرقابة. توجد 4 وثائق تحتوي على مشاريع قرارات ضمن هذا البند، وهي 8.1 الميزانية لفترة السنتين القادمتين 2027 2026 2027. القرار 8.2 جداول التقديرات لعامي 26 27. 8.3 البيانات المالية للمنظمة العالمية للأرصاد الجوية لعام 2024. 8.4 استخدام الفائض النقدي من الفترة المالية 18، حيث أننا قد اعتمدنا أمس البنود 8.1 8.2 وكذلك 8.4. بالإضافة إلى ذلك هناك 4 قرارات متعلقة بالرقابة سيتم النظر فيها كما هو وارد في الوثيقة الأولى، وقد تمت مناقشة هذه المواضيع بشكل موسع خلال الجلسة 45 للجنة الاستشارية المالية. كما تمت مناقشة الوثيقة 8.1 الخاصة بالميزانية للفترة من 2026 إلى 2027 بشكل إضافي في لجنة الميزانية. وقد شارك في الاجتماع اللجنة الاستشارية المالية حوالي 17% من الدول الأعضاء من المنظمة العالمية للأرصاد الجوية، وكذلك نحو 60% من أعضاء المجلس التنفيذي للمنظمة، سواء بأنفسهم أو من ينوب عنهم. تقرير اللجنة الاستشارية المالية وارد في وثيقة المعلومات 233 تقرير الجلسة 45 للجنة الاستشارية المالية إلى الجلسة 79 للمجلس التنفيذي. أدعو الآن السيد براين كوفر المراقب المالي للمنظمة العالمية للأرصاد الجوية لتقديم تقرير شفهي حول نتائج الجلسة 45 للجنة الاستشارية المالية. تفضل براين.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a very quick update as everything is included in the InfDoc 2.33. So FINAC met on Thursday and Friday, 12 and 13 of June, and considered financial matters, oversight matters, and certain reports on human resources and procurement. The committee made 12 recommendations to the Executive Council related to the draft decisions and draft resolutions that are under consideration by EC 79, each of which will either has been or will be described as the related item is considered by Executive Council. The committee then decided to hold its next official meeting on 18 and 19 June 2026, subject to the final decision by EC 79 on the dates of EC 80. In addition, FINAC decided to hold an extraordinary FINAC session in virtual format during the week before Congress Extraordinary to review the proposed supplementary budget. Thank you.
شكرا براين. هل من تعليقات على تغيير الجلسة 45 للجنة الاستشارية المالية إلى الجلسة 79 للمجلس التنفيذي؟ إذا لا يوجد تعليق، شكرا لكم. ننتقل الآن إلى البند التالي من جدول الأعمال 8.3 البيانات المالية للمنظمة العالمية للأرصاد الجوية لعام 2024. يتضمن هذا البند مسودة مشروع قرار واحد، كما سنستمع في إطاره إلى تقرير المدققين الخارجيين، وسننظر في مشروع القرار 852 والمتعلق بخطة العمل الإدارية بشأن توصيات المدقق الخارجي. لقد نظرت الجلسة 45 للجنة المالية في الوثيقة 8.3 ومسودة مشروع القرار، وأوصت كذلك باعتماد القرار مع تعديل طفيف على النحو الوارد في المسودة رقم 2 من الوثيقة. الآن أدعو المدققين الخارجيين لتقديم تقريرهم بشأن البيانات المالية ل 2024. تفضل.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished delegates, I'm honored to take the floor in this meeting, and I would like to bring to the Executive Council, together with my own, the greetings of the President of Italian Corte dei Conti, Mr. Guido Carlino. In the today meeting, we are presenting the audit report on the financial statement 2024 with the audit certificate. We have issued a clean audit opinion. I can assure that the team will continue to provide our services with professionalism, independence, and integrity. We continue to maintain a good cooperation with the Internal Oversight Office, essential to avoid overlapping work and to ensure better coverage of all sensitive areas, while considering the different perspectives of the two audit functions. We thank the Audit and Oversight Committee, with whom we have also established good communication. The collaboration among all subjects involved in the oversight allows the organization to improve its processes and procedures and provides an added value to the general framework. I express my thanks to Secretary General, to the Executive Management, to the Directors, and to all officials involved. Our activity, as usual, focused on the testing on the most sensitive areas of the organization, or to obtain the audit evidence which allowed us to issue an audit opinion on the financial statements. I leave the floor to my team, who will present the main results of our audit activity to the Council in detail. Thank you for your attention.
شكرا لك. تفضل. تفضل.
Thank you very much for giving me the possibility to present the main findings of our report over the financial statements 2024. Next, please. Our audit report is presented in two parts. The first part contains the opinion, as the President Mezzera just reminded. It was a clean opinion on the financial statement 2024. The second part contains the long-form reports that presents the result of the audit activity, taking in account not only the financial aspect, but also the compliance of the transaction examined and elements related to performance of processes and procedures. Our audit work also including following up on the recommendation issued in past report in order to assess their implementation status. Including the IT audit, we have issued 26 recommendations previously discussed with management and presented to the Secretary General, whose comments are included in the long-form report. The vast majority of these recommendations has been accepted by the organization, while 3 recommendations remaining under review. Let's now proceed to analysis the sector affected by the result of the audits. Firstly, property, plant and equipment, where we notice weaknesses in the planning of extraordinary maintenance works on buildings and equipment, as well as in the adequacy of the terms of reference for the special maintenance fund. Therefore, we recommended to strengthen the fund's regulatory framework, defining a clear roadmap for extraordinary work and ensuring a cost-benefit balance in maintenance decisions. Regarding asset management, we recommended improving the accuracy of the asset register and the tracking of IT assets in particular. We also dedicated attention to the revenue for voluntary contribution, where we noted weaknesses in the planning, monitoring, and reporting of staff-related costs. For this reason, we recommended a consistent implementation of the existing standing instructions, focusing on structured cost planning, accurate staff expense tracking, improved financial reporting, and coordination across all relevant units involved. Other findings affected the sector related to the rental of office facilities, where we noticed that the organization has experienced invoicing delays of up to 3 years. We also notice lack of transparency, accuracy, and auditability, and we notice a case of double accounting. For this reason, we recommended a clear cost recovery framework, including timely invoicing and clearer contract terms. We also recommended strict IPSAS adherence, accurate accounting, stronger documentation and cost allocation in order to avoid anomalies like double counting, in order to ensure verifiable building-related expensible. Next, please. With reference to salaries and employee benefit, we noticed that the WMO experienced an increase in staff salaries and recruitment, while at the same time training expenditure declined. Its strategic HR plan should be further aligned with long-term goals, and the link between financial resources and long-term strategic HR plan could be strengthened. In addition, we recommended to continue investing in staff training, supporting the decision with a careful cost-benefit evaluation. With reference to the costs connected to the consultancy and the secondment, we issued 6 recommendations, mainly aimed at ensuring a full compliance with the consultancy service regulation, modified during the year 2024 with the 2 new service notes. Additional measures include reassessing consultants' roles, promoting a competitive selection, and limiting repeated use in line with the policy time limits. It should be required certified performance evaluation during and after assignments. The internal procedure should be updated to fully track contract history, ensuring transparency and accountability. Last but not least, equal opportunity should be promoted by improving geographical and gender balance in recruitment. We review the service level agreement signed with the UNDP in October 2023 during the process of implementation of the new ERP, so-called Quantum. The review yielded 3 recommendations. Firstly, cost-limiting measures should be introduced to the contract. Secondly, the WMO's right to access and retain its record in the event of termination should be ensured. Thirdly, internal controls over the ERP system should be strengthened, and it's necessary to negotiate a result in this sense, considering different options. The results can be achieved by obtaining independent reports from UNDP or assuring auditors from WMO to have access to relevant data or implementing additional oversight and audit measures. We also analyzed the procedures related to the travel, and we issued 2 recommendations related to third-party travel in order to streamline the DSA recovery process. Next, please. With reference to the procurement, we issued 5 recommendations to improve procurement practices. Amend the standing instruction to provide clear guidance on LTAs, piggybacking, mini bids, and collaborative procurement. Train WMO personnel to raise awareness on sustainable procurement. Promote sustainability when feasible in tenders that constitute case of exception to competition. Use supplier surveys for high-value procurements when they experimented limited vendor participation. And finally, ensure clear and precise technical specification to enable suppliers to better meet WMO requirements. We analyzed the system of internal controls, considering that from past review of the AUC, the GAU, and from our as external auditors, there were some weaknesses related to the 2020 Secretariat restructuring, where weaknesses regarded accountability and second-line roles due to unclear responsibilities and reporting lines. To address these weaknesses, WMO issued 2 service notes, one in the year 2024 and one this year, establishing the Controller and Management Service Division and transferring key responsibilities to a newly appointed D1 level controller. Despite these changes, issues related to role clarity and potential overlaps remain under review. For this reason, we recommended that WMO clearly define and separate the controller's roles to strengthen second-line function and to prevent overlap. Additionally, we advise creating a centralized exception register within the new ERP system. During the IT audit, we audited the organization pooled treasury process, and in this regard, we recommended that WMO formalize this process in a dedicated policy or guideline with a focus on interest distribution among the different bank accounts. Finally, we present the results of the follow-up to previous recommendation. The audit found significant improvements and confirmed the implementation of the most part of the prior recommendation, almost the 70%. But at the same time, some recommendations remain in progress. We specified that certain IT-related recommendations were excluded from this year's scope, as management reported their implementation started in year 2025 within the new ERP system. Thank you for your attention. I give the floor to my colleague for the presentation of the report on the regional offices.
تفضل.
Thank you. We are glad to present you a brief summary of the audit result issued at the end of our first term as our external auditor. Last year, during the special audit of the performance of the W regional representative offices, all the audit findings was be discussed with the management. File for this mission was conducted in the regional offices for Asia and Southwest Pacific, regional office for the Americas, and regional office for Europe at the end of October and at the end of November 2023. Next, please. We conducted an audit focusing on the actual regional presence of the WMO and on the capacity of the objective assigned to the regional representative offices in relation to the specific strategic objective of the WMO, and on how they perform under the current set of rules linked to their specific objective. The audit also focused on the performance of regional offices and the extent to which the procedure established by the WMO ensure effective coordination between the headquarters and regional representative offices through agreed objective performance and job plans. Next, please. We analyzed the WMO's operational frameworks to determine whether its regional offices have specific frameworks in place for safety, technology, health, and emergency protocols. We then examined whether the administrative operating instructions were tailored to specific regional contexts and needs. Next, please. Okay. The audit findings are summarized here and in the follow section for a complete analysis of our audit works. We invite you to read our report. We found weaknesses in policy and procedure, as well as in the framework for participation in events and activities. There is a lack of details in WMO regional asset inventory. Next, please. Thank you. The focus on sharing and mobility revealed opportunities to improve communication in the current mechanism between departments and regional members. Regarding the procedures for staff mobility or reassignment, we noted that the framework was unclear with regard to career prospects, rates, and financial implications, which can discourage staff participation. We identified opportunities to improve the regional office project management capacity and harmonize the definition of duties and activities. Next, please. And the special service agreements, we noted a partial lack of measure to ensure that consultants fulfill their project obligation line with a specific need from regional offices projects. In our opinion, the regional office and headquarters should be linked to make the most of knowledge of the territories, and improve the dialogue. We have recommended also verifying whether it is possible to integrate the WMO procurement system with the operational manuals or instructions specific to the regional offices. Thank you.
شكرا لك. إذا الآن نعود إلى براين لتقديم مسودة مشروع القرار 831.
Do you want to pull up doc 8.3, please? Thank you. So the draft resolution was considered, as we said, by FINAC, and there were only minor modifications to the resolution. So if we go on to the resolution, no, sorry, go up a little bit the other way. So right there, to the request of the Secretary General, the operative part, please. So the resolution requests the Secretary General to transmit the financial statements along with the report of the external auditor to all members, and to continue to report on the implementation of the management action plan related to the external auditor recommendations, which I'll briefly talk about in a moment, and to take note of the amended financial rules that were discussed at FINAC. And then the only change here was requested by the President of Regional Association 1 with respect to noting concern about the substantial amount of assessed contributions and arrears, and just changing some text and referring to the WMO strategic plan as opposed to approved program to make it more specific and effective. Thank you.
شكرا براين. الآن المجال مفتوح لأي ملاحظات قبل اعتماد مسودة المشروع. إذن لا أرى أي ملاحظات، وبهذا نعتمد مسودة المشروع القرار 831. وأيضا نعتمد الوثيقة 8-3. وأخيرا أدعو السيد براين كوفر لتقديم مسودة مشروع القرار 852. تفضل.
Thank you. Sorry, we're taking one of the oversight recommendation or decisions now because it relates to the management action plan on the external auditor recommendations. Again, we went through this in FINAC, but just as a quick summary, that the WMO Secretariat has implemented 80% of the recommendations from the Corte dei Conti that were issued in the first 4 years of their mandate. They're either been implemented or closed. Most of the open recommendations from those years are planned for implementation by the end of this year, subject, of course, to priorities and resources. The new recommendations that you just heard from the external auditors with respect to 2024 are planned to be implemented in 2025 or a few rolling into 2026, depending upon the scope and the availability of time and resources. So if we pull up the decision 852, the only edit to this decision from the original documentation was just the inclusion of document 8, the INF document 852B related to the regional office report as well. So taking note of the external auditor reports, expressing appreciation to the external auditors, and taking note of the management action plan and requesting us to continue to make, to prioritize the implementation of such recommendations. Thank you.
شكرا براين. المجال مفتوح لأي تعليقات أو ملاحظات. إذن لا أرى أي تعليقات، وبهذا نعتمد مسودة مشروع القرار 852. سنبدأ الآن في النظر في القرارات المتبقية المتعلقة بالرقابة. هناك 3 قرارات رقابية إضافية واردة في الوثيقة الأولى. تقرير الرقابة الأول الذي سننظر فيه تقرير لجنة التدقيق والرقابة الواردة في وثيقة المعلومات 851. هناك مسودة مشروع قرار واحد يتعلق بهذا التقرير. أدعو السيد هوك تشيونغ رئيس لجنة التدقيق والرقابة لتقديم تقرير اللجنة. تفضل. تفضل سيد.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon and greetings from Malaysia. My name is Hock Chai, and I'm the chair of the WMO Audit and Oversight Committee, or more commonly called the AOC. President Dr. Abdallah and members of the committee, the report before you is a summary of the 2 meetings of the AOC that we held since we last met in June 2024. In the AOC report, we also addressed the 4 recommendations of the Executive Council regarding the Joint Inspection Unit, self-assessment, the WMO financial status, and the AOC's recommendations. My remarks to you today will reflect on the key achievements and highlight developments relevant to WMO oversight and governance. The AOC is satisfied with the performance of WMO's oversight structures, which remain robust, adaptive, and effective. Similarly, our 2 external oversight partners, the external auditors, have expressed confidence in the financial audits, and the Joint Inspection Unit has also expressed appreciation for the high implementation rates of its recommendations. WMO also briefed us on its resource and liquidity management approach, which as a committee will continue to monitor for implementation. In summary, WMO's oversight remains sound and credible. Its real challenges lie in securing sustainable resources and delivering impact in a shifting geopolitical and development environment. These challenges are not unique to WMO. They are shared across the UN system. A few highlights. Overall, the linkage between oversight and improved efficiency and accountability in WMO is evident. Please allow me to highlight 4 management oversight mechanisms that operate within WMO. First, a substantial controllership function has strengthened the design of the internal control system. Further refinements of the function are being made to enhance its effectiveness. Second, a progressive risk management function has been and will continue to be essential in identifying and monitoring critical risks facing WMO. Third, the increase in staff engagement with the UN Ethics Office indicates confidence and trust in seeking ethics-related guidance. Fourth, and lastly, despite limited resources, the Internal Oversight Office has significantly contributed to WMO's governance, risk, and internal control. Some closing thoughts. The new leadership, headed by the Secretary General and her 2 deputies, has brought fresh momentum to a culture of openness and trust. AOC commends her team for its commitment to transparency and accountability within a resource-constrained environment. We look forward to overseeing how this renewed momentum will continue to shape the future priorities of WMO going forward. AOC as an independent oversight body, will remain a committed partner with the EC in supporting sound oversight and governance in WMO. In conclusion, President Dr. Abdallah and members of the committee, on behalf of the AOC, we wish to thank you for the opportunity to share these reflections. We welcome your observations and will be happy to address any questions you may have. Thank you for listening.
شكرا لك السيد هوك، وأبقى معنا للرد على الملاحظات إن وجدت. المجال مفتوح لأي ملاحظات. إذن لا أرى أي ملاحظات. شكرا لك مجددا السيد هوك. الآن أدعو السيد براين لتقديم مسودة مشروع القرار 851 متضمنا التعديل المقترح من الجلسة 45 للجنة الاستشارية المالية. تفضل.
Thank you very much, President, and thank you, Hawk-Chai. The draft decision 851, it was included in Doc 1. It requests the Executive Council to take note of the report and endorse the recommendations made by the AOC, expresses its appreciation to the AOC, and one addition from FINAC was to strongly urge the Secretary General to implement the 11 outstanding recommendations from the AOC that are due for completion by the end of 2025 in a timely manner, and the Secretariat is committed to doing just that.
شكرا براين. الآن المجال مفتوح لأي ملاحظات على مسودة المشروع قبل اعتماده. لا توجد أي ملاحظات، وبهذا نعتمد مسودة مشروع القرار 851. شكرا لكم. ننتقل الآن إلى تقرير التوصيات الصادرة عن وحدة التفتيش المشتركة والواردة في وثيقة المعلومات 854. كما يرجى العلم بأنه يوجد مسودة مشروع قرار واحد متعلقة بهذا التقرير. أدعو المفتشة كارولين رئيسة وحدة التفتيش المشتركة لإحاطة المجلس التنفيذي. تفضلي.
Thank you. Dear members of the Executive Council, thank you for inviting the Joint Inspection Unit to participate in this meeting. You have before you the document entitled Follow-up of the Joint Inspection Unit Recommendation, which outlines WMO's progress in accepting and implementing JIU recommendations. The acceptance and implementation of the unit's recommendations serve as key indicators of the relevance, significance, and overall quality of our reports. I am pleased to note that WMO ranks among the participating organizations with high rates of acceptance and implementation. For the reports issued between 2016 and 2023, WMO recorded an acceptance rate of 88.1%, with 87.8% of those recommendations already implemented. Turning to the unit's work plan and delivery, in 2024, the JIU released 6 products, 3 reports on system-wide reviews, 1 report of management and administration review of a single organization, and 2 notes. The 3 system-wide reviews are included in document EC 79/8 5.54. The unit applied the established process of consultations with the participating organizations to select the topics for the 2025 program of work. They include the reviews of policies and practices of determining rates of program support costs, strategic planning function, recruitment policies and practices, travel arrangements, data governance frameworks, decentralized evaluation function, and the management and administration of UNESCO. For 2026, the unit is following a similar process, which has just been launched. The unit is cognizant of the need to revitalize the multilateral system and has requested the participating organizations to take this opportunity to contribute to the United Nations Secretary General's UN 80 initiative by proposing topics that align with its goals, particularly those aimed at enhancing efficiency, improving current arrangements, and considering structural changes and program realignment across the United Nations system. I would be remiss not to mention that several organizations are grappling with the effects of severe funding constraints, which might have a negative impact on the work of accountability and oversight entities in general. I would like to express my concern and point out that in times of financial austerity, the need for robust, independent, and effective accountability and oversight mechanisms becomes even more critical. Furthermore, and mindful of the financial constraints and liquidity challenges of most organizations, as part of its commitment to operational efficiency, the unit is streamlining its outputs, making them more concise without compromising the depth and value of the information our stakeholders rely on. This effort not only reduces production cost, but also, hopefully, will make the decision-making process of governing bodies and legislative organs in regard to our reports much more agile. I would like to thank the members of the Executive Council and the Audit and Oversight Committee for the attention to the work of the JIU. On behalf of the unit, I also extend my appreciation to WMO Secretariat for their continued cooperation and collaboration in support of our reviews. Thank you.
شكرا لك المفتشة وبازو، والمجال مفتوح لتلقي الأسئلة. إذا لا توجد أي أسئلة، وبهذا أدعو السيد براين لتقديم مسودة مشروع القرار 853 متضمنا التعديل المقترح من الجلسة الخامسة والأربعين للجنة الاستشارية المالية.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think for the last time now, draft decision 5.3 on the implementation of the Joint Inspection Unit. There are normal text endorsing the responses to the recommendations made by the Joint Inspection Unit, requesting the Secretary General to continue to support the work of the JIU and provide consideration to the recommendations of the unit. And then there was one specific recommendation added by FINAC to request further WMO management attention to implementing the specific recommendation related to the review of non-staff personnel and ensuring that future human resources reports include all the data recommended by the JIU for reporting on the use of non-staff personnel, including number of personnel, years of service, location of employment, and nationality. And I think the Director of Administration, when she's up here a little bit later, can comment that we actually updated the INF document already to include some of that information for this year. Thank you.
شكرا براين، المجال مفتوح لملاحظاتكم عن مسودة مشروع 853 قبل الاعتماد. إذن لا توجد أي ملاحظات، وبهذا نعتمد مسودة مشروع القرار 853. سننتظر في التقرير السنوي المسائل الصادرة عن مكتب الرقابة الداخلية والواردة في وثيقة المعلومات 855، حيث يوجد مسودة مشروع قرار واحد متعلق بهذا التقرير. أدعو السيد ألوك أوجا مدير مكتب الرقابة الداخلية لتقديم تقريره ومسودة مشروع القرار 854. تفضل سيد.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Distinguished members of the Executive Council, I am pleased to present the annual report of the Internal Oversight Office contained in the EC 79 in 8.5(5). In accordance with the Financial Regulation 13.10(e), IO submits a report every year to the governing bodies of WMO containing the summary of work done, findings, and opinion on the status of internal controls. This is the report containing the activities during 2024. This report was submitted to the Audit and Oversight Committee and to the FINAC last week, and it should be read in conjunction with their comments. As required by the international standards of internal auditing, I would like to confirm that the activities of the IO were carried out with complete independence and without any impairment to objectivity. I'd like to mention that while the annual reports of IO are publicly available on the IO web page on the WMO public website, the individual reports of the internal audits conducted are confidential. They are disclosed to the member states and their representatives under the provision of the disclosure policy, which was approved by the EC. I'd like to express my thanks to the Audit and Oversight Committee, which reviews our plan of work, resources, and findings and provides guidance to IO and management. Finally, I'd like to thank the Secretary General and the management of WMO for support and cooperation in the activities of the Internal Oversight Office. The report contains our annual opinion on the status of internal controls, summary results of each of the 3 services, the internal audits, the evaluation, and the investigations. Last year, we issued 5 internal audit and 1 evaluation reports. We also had a significantly high number of 33 complaints lodged through our reporting mechanisms, which were handled as per our procedures. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'd be glad to provide additional information or answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
شكرا لك السيد ألوك، والمجال مفتوح لأي تعليقات. إذن لا أرى أي تعليقات، وبهذا نعتمد مسودة مشروع القرار 854. وبذلك نكون قد استكملنا البنود المدرجة في البند 8 من جدول الأعمال. أعلن اختتام البند 8 من جدول الأعمال. ننتقل الآن إلى بند من جدول الأعمال لهذا اليوم، البند 9 الموارد البشرية. يوجد مشروع قرار واحد ضمن هذا البند كما هو ورد في الوثيقة 1، ويرتبط هذا القرار ب4 وثائق معلومات كما يلي: تقرير الموارد البشرية، 9(2) تقرير مكتب الأخلاقيات، 9(3) تقرير رابطة الموظفين، 9(4) تقرير المشتريات. وبسبب بعض التحديات الزمنية لن يكون هناك عرض من مكتب الأخلاقيات إلا أن التقرير متوفر. ويسرني أن أعلمكم أن السيدة برغيتا مديرة إدارة الشؤون الإدارية والسيد يوهانس رئيس قسم الموارد البشرية متاحان للرد على أي استفسارات متعلقة. تفضل.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we have a connection with the Ethics Office last minute, but they are able to join. Yeah.
تفضل. تفضلي سيدتي، تفضلي. سيدة تايكم، تسمعينا؟ إننا لا نسمعك.
Hello, can you hear me now?
نعم نعم نعم، تفضلي تفضلي.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Ethics Office, the UN Ethics Office, I'm very honored to have the opportunity to provide a briefing to the Executive Council today. And as you have seen in the report that has been circulated, the UN Ethics Office provide a full range of ethics services to the management and personnel of WMO since 2023, and the agreement between the two organizations will continue to be in effect until the end of 2026. Under the agreement, the UN Ethics Office provides ethics services to WMO in the following area. One, to provide confidential, independent ethics advice to staff and management of WMO. Two, to conduct preliminary reviews of requests for protection against retaliation that came from WMO personnel. Three, to conduct reviews of financial disclosure statements submitted by WMO personnel under the UN Financial Disclosure Program. Four, to provide outreach and training services. And I would like to provide just a high-level highlight of the services that we provided in 2024. Under the Financial Disclosure Program, we are very pleased to note that 100% of WMO personnel who are designated to participate in the Financial Disclosure Program complied with the requirement of the program. In terms of confidential independent ethics advice, we received an increased number of requests for advice from the ethics function. Compared to 2024, it represents an increase of 42.3%. And this demonstrates an increased level of trust on the part of WMO personnel and management, and also the awareness of WMO personnel of the need to ensure that their activities are fully aligned with the core principles and values of the overall UN system and WMO. In terms of protection against retaliation, we also received 2 requests for advice and one query on the agreement. The UN Ethics Office also provides outreach and training services, briefing to the Secretariat of IPCC staff. Now, I would like to say that over the period from 2023 up to this point, we note the continued openness and willingness by WMO staff and management to engage with the ethics function. And this is a very positive, feature that we have seen, we have observed. And secondly, As I mentioned earlier, we also observe an increased level of engagement with the ethic function. Again, it points to the level of awareness and trust on the part of WMO personnel and management. On another note, we also observe that the request for services, the issue, the concern that arose from the request for ethics services from WMO are very much aligned with the practices that we have observed from the UN Secretariat or from other UN entities to whom our office provides services. And finally, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the council and council member for your time. And I would also like to thank the Audit and Oversight Committee for the guidance, for the discussion that we have had with the committee during the year. Thank you very much.
شكرا لك سيد تاي كيم. تم تقديم تقرير الموارد البشرية وتقرير المشتريات خلال اجتماع الجلسة 45 للجنة الاستشارية المالية الأسبوع الماضي، وبهذا أدعو السيدة برجيتا مديرة إدارة الشؤون الإدارية لتقديم عرض موجز حول هذه التقارير والنقاش الذي دار خلال اللجنة، بالإضافة إلى نظرة عامة عن تقرير مكتب الأخلاقيات. تفضلي سيدتي.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good day, ladies and gentlemen of the Executive Council. What I will do is give a brief summary of the discussions we had at FINAC last week. One of the items I will bring forward is the HR, the human resources activities, and then a short presentation on the procurement, what are the important elements and what came up during the FINAC discussions. During FINAC, we already had extensive presentations, so this will be a very short overview. When you look at the INF document related to human resources, you find the topic of gender and geographical balance. The report of the human resources highlights the effort of the organization to balance gender and geographical representation, with progress in increasing female staff in the organization, also at the professional level, and staff from previously underrepresented countries. The information document shows detailed numbers of appointments by gender over the years 2020-2024. And it also shows the regional distribution of the applicants to vacancy notices. Another important element of the human resources report is the younger and scientific staff and the importance we pay to that. It shows the report that we have continued the process of recruiting younger staff through an influx of younger and more scientifically oriented personnel. Then our recruitment volume. This continues from our perspective quite high. We had 51 staff appointed in 2024, including 3 staff members for the GEO. And the numbers are still above the average we had in the previous years. The total workforce in WMO currently stands at 343 staff members. Another important element shown in the report and came up in the discussions with FINAC is the HR strategy. We are developing this strategy, and it's now in the final draft, and we are trying to also address the issue of the consultancies that become more and more important, and was also just now addressed by the external auditor. The workforce of staff is augmented by consultants. in the period January to December 24. The Secretariat staff was complemented by 261 consultants, and those were for specific short-term tasks. Of the consultants, 30% were female and 70% were male. Most consultants are recruited from Regions 4 and Region 6. In the report, you will find on page 10 a more detailed overview of the number of consultants in WMO. The fact that we are engaging or putting more emphasis on consultants is also demonstrated by a service note that we have already adopted in the beginning of 24. And in this context, it's important to note that consultants are not recruited to carry out regular staff duties. The new service note, or that's now a year in place, introduces a competitive selection process. That means that we advertise all the consultancies, the vacancies for consultancies, and we have a selection process that's carried out by the requesting department. The requesting department makes a selection report, and all the awards of the consultancy contracts are published on the internal website of WMO. And the FINAC discussion last week, the Secretariat was requested, as was already mentioned just now also by Brian, to be more specific and to add more statistics to the annual HR report, covering, amongst others, details related to recruitment, the number of the vacancies filled, the average time it takes us to recruit somebody, and the employment categories of personnel recruited and information related to separations of staff. Then with the good news is with the new ERP system, it will be much more easy for us to come up with those numbers and statistics as they are captured automatically in the system. So I think this is are the main issues from the discussion we had at FINAC and the activities of WMO in relation to the HR policies. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free. After this, I have a short presentation on procurement, but since that's separate, I don't know if you want to have questions first or...
شكرا لك سيدة برجيتا، والمجال مفتوح لأي ملاحظة أو استفسار. سارة جونز بليز تفضلي.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the Secretariat for this very good report on human resources. I couldn't be at FINAC, but I enjoyed reading the information document. The work of WMO depends really a huge amount on the well-qualified and the dedicated staff here at the Secretariat. And we'd like to thank WMO Secretariat for their efforts to bring more people into the organization, more women, a better regional balance, younger people, because the different perspectives that these bring to our work are very important for us. I also enjoyed seeing some examples of the training programs you've been introducing. They're sort of programs that we've been introducing in our organization as well. And also just to take the opportunity to thank the staff for their dedication to our work. And we see some of it. We don't see a lot of it directly, but we do see the results. And we do very much. I also like to thank the members who have been seconding staff to the Secretariat to help support the work that's done here. So we do appreciate that this is a time of very high uncertainty for the staff at the Secretariat, And I'm sure I can speak for my colleagues here in Executive Council when I say that we very much value the work that they do. Thank you.
شكرا لك سيدتي. تفضل رئيس الإقليم الثالث.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll do it in Spanish, please. En esta ocasión quiero recalcar y también felicitar a la Secretaría y a todos los miembros del staff por el informe y además también recalcar de que es bastante, por lo menos para los representantes permanentes, veo que es bien transparente el sistema de reclutamiento. Siempre llegamos, quiero recordar que siempre tenemos esa información disponible, es bien clara, bien concisa. Entonces, quiero sumar a todo el informe eso también que estamos recibiendo de buena manera y todo el proceso que cada uno de los miembros hoy del staff están desarrollando en este momento es fundamental, así como bien decía la colega que me antecedió, es fundamental que mantengamos esa proactividad y que podamos seguir entonces manteniendo la institución como así ya lo habían hablado también otras instituciones de Naciones Unidas, que somos, digamos, un ente bastante adaptado y sobre todo estamos en primera línea. Entonces, muchas gracias.
شكرا لك سيدي. شكرا. والآن أدعو أيضا رئيسة رابطة الموظفين السيدة سيلفي لعرض وجهة نظرهم. تفضل.
Good afternoon, Executive Council and delegations. WMO is navigating one of the most challenging and uncertain times in its history. Staff across the Secretariat are supportive of the organization in this difficult time and want to be part of the solution. As the Secretary General said in her opening statement, we must decide together how to evolve, preserving our core identity and coming out stronger on the other side. Staff are committed, but need clarity. We are looking for more information and direction from you, WMO members, and from management so that we can take on responsibility in strategically repositioning the organization as a provider of science for action, action in sustainable development, for disaster risk reduction, for food security, for health, for water resources, for every area you can imagine in life. WMO staff are dedicated to work to help you to deliver on these services. But the uncertainty for staff is continuous. It's a gnawing source of stress, distress, and anxiety. We have built lives in Geneva, Singapore, Costa Rica, and all the other locations in which WMO has offices. We've brought our families to these locations. We found homes. We've put them in public schools. We've made friends in the local communities. We've created new lives for ourselves in a WMO environment in which we hope to thrive. Switzerland, where the majority of our staff are located, is famous for its rule of law. Actually, so is also Singapore, where we also have a big office. So you can imagine the months of advance notice that is required to end a lease, to remove children from school, to plan international moves, and everything that must require.
Currently, staff get 1-year contract renewals if they are renewed. However, if it remains unknown until within less than 3 months of their current contracts. Geneva is extremely expensive. Staying on for administrative reasons because you didn't know about your renewal until too short in advance can be rather costly and actually is completely unaffordable. So this is just one of the examples of why staff might be stressed and distressed by the current situation. Despite this, there is momentum. The staff committee welcomes improved relationship with executive management, from an open door policy for the staff committee to raise concerns directly with management, to having the staff committee join the global management team meetings. When the recent task team was formed to give recommendations on efficiencies and potential restructuring in April, 2 members of the staff committee were invited to join. So there is an improvement in the situation and the communication between staff and management. But the situation is right now evolving quickly, and there's little time for concentration despite this effort. We hope that the spirit of collaboration continues. To quote the Secretary General, "This is a moment that requires clear thinking, coordinated action, and institutional reimagining." We would like to be part of that. Thank you.
شكرا لك سيدتي، والمجال مفتوح لتعليقاتكم. إذن لا توجد أي تعليقات، وأرجع للسيدة برقيتة لتقديم مسودة مشروع القرار 9-1 متضمنا التعديل الذي أوصت به اللجنة الاستشارية المالية. تفضل يا سيدي.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had foreseen a brief introduction on procurement, but I don't know if there are any questions or issues people want to raise in relation to this INF document and following the FINAC. If that's not the case, then we will proceed with the draft decision. Following the consultations we had with FINAC, an additional sentence was added to the request of the proposed request for the Executive Council to the Secretary General. And I will read that out to you. It's under number 4 and then 1 and 2. The Executive Council further requests the Secretary General, 1, to include additional recruitment statistics in future human resources reports, including the number of vacancies filled, the average time to recruit, and the employment categories of personnel recruited, as well as information regarding separations, and 2, to publish the WMO staff rules on the public website And then to take note of the reports that you just have heard. 1, the Human Resources Report, including progress in human resources strategy and gender inclusiveness. 2, the report of the Ethics Office. 3, the report of the Staff Association. And 4, the procurement report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Birgitta. شكرا برقيتا. هل هناك أي ملاحظات أو تعليقات قبل اعتماد مسودة مشروع القرار؟ إذا لا أرى أي ملاحظات، وبهذا نعتمد مسودة مشروع القرار 9-1. الآن ننتقل إلى مسودة مشروع القرار 7-5-1 والمتعلقة بشأن المؤتمر العالمي الرابع للمناخ والمواضيع المناخية الأخرى. أدعو نائب الأمين العام السيدة كوبارت، تفضلي.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, you'll recall that we had a conversation on this agenda item yesterday where there was no ability to come to kind of an agreement on the path forward. So we spent some time in consultation with the parties or with the EC members to see what was possible in terms of consensus text. And it was clear that there was no consensus to move forward with planning on a 4th World Climate Conference at this time. But there also was not an appetite to escalate this issue or elevate this issue to something like a vote or so. So we worked with a number of members to come up with a very simple text that I'll ask is put on the screen now. So this decision has 2 parts. The first was on the fourth World Climate Conference, and the second part had to do with an informal group on negotiations. The second part, we received no comments. And for the first part, we are just suggesting that we delete everything and have a simple sentence that reads, the Executive Council decides to defer consideration of a 4th World Climate Conference until the 80th session of the Executive Council EC 80. And I just want to be clear, there will be a conversation tomorrow on whether we will have an extraordinary Executive Council. That won't be EC 80, that will have some other title. So we're not deferring this until the fall. This would be the next regularly scheduled Executive Council meeting. And with that, I turn it back to you.
شكرا كو. هل يوجد أي تعليق أو ملاحظات قبل اعتماد مسودة المشروع؟ مستشارة كينيث جراهام.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As one of those members that was involved in the consultation, we just want to say thank you for arriving at the language. Appreciate the conversation, the ability to have differing opinions, and we look forward to continuing to work together. Thank you for the committee's indulgence.
شكرا. إذا مستشارة كينيث لا يوجد أي مانع. لا يوجد أي مانع أي ملاحظات؟ إذن نعتمد مسودة مشروع القرار 7-5-1. إذن نأخذ كوفي بريك وبعدها نرجع نستكمل ما بدأناه في البند السابع، المسائل العامة والقانونية والسياسات التنظيمية. تفضل. You are ready? مظبوط. مرحبا بكم مجددا. استكمالا بما بدأناه في البند السابع، المسائل العامة والقانونية والسياسية والتنظيمية. أدعو الأمانة العامة للتفضل. تفضل جوزيف.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon to everyone. And we will continue where we left yesterday. So if we can go to the document that we had so that we can show it on screen. We had left in Annex, the last proposal we saw was Annex 7, so now we should go to Annex 8. 7.2.1, it's page 17. Louise, would you like to explain your proposal?
Yeah, it was just to ensure that there was clarity around the fact that the exclusion of the SG on a special leave arrangement is not applicable to the SG. We just hadn't picked that up in the task force, that we needed to just include that to clarify that point. Thanks.
Thank you. We can then move to page 18, Annex 9. We have some editorial proposals by Aberdare, and we have in 6.8 a proposal by Chinda. Would you like to explain?
شندا غير موجود معنا.
Okay, so we continue to Anders 6.9. We have a proposal by Anders V.
سيد شندا. أبدا. أوكي. تفضل أبدا.
Thank you very much, Chair. Mr. Chinda had a discussion with myself earlier in relation to some of these amendments. And his point of view was that we had put too much detail into the document and that we should try and find more concise language. I think he doesn't disagree with the principle that, none of these events should be used as an opportunity to promote yourself as a possible candidate. So what he said to me, though, was that he thinks we're putting in too much detail. So if we can find a more concise formulation, he would be happy with that. So I just thought I'd bring that to the meeting as well. Thank you, Chair.
شكرا لك. مستشارة بني.
Thank you, Mr. President. The additional text proposed by Penny and Professor Enderbisby was proposed during PAC, and it's intended to prevent the appearance of a conflict of interest if the person chairing an election process is also a candidate in that election. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a few other, I think another modification by Chinda, but we will pass. I think it's on the same lines that was explained by Aberders, and a few other editorials in page 21 by Abader. I don't think we need to stop there. Then in page 68, we have some format. No, we already did 20. Yeah. Page, sorry, 23.
Can we go to Regulation 68, please? Okay, it's that. This is just, yeah, it's just formatting. We had in this regulation first the rule and then the exception, and we are here having a proposal to have the exception first and then the rule, but the text is the same, so it's a matter of preference as to how members want to deal with it, if they want to have first the rule and then the exception as it was proposed by the task force, or the other way around. We can then move to page 26, 25 and 26. And these are a new proposals that were submitted yesterday. And this is on electronic voting. I would like to ask if Shorts would like to take the floor to explain.
Merci. Merci. Au nom de la France, je souhaiterais effectivement expliquer la proposition que nous avons faite sur, qui est en deux temps. Le premier temps concerne ici 7 demandes faites au secrétariat de nous préciser quelles peuvent être les modalités de vote électronique ou de vote par email, de manière à renforcer la confiance dans ces modalités et faciliter l'approbation par la suite de votes autres que en personne par papier. Donc ça, c'est la première chose. Et la deuxième chose, c'est que nous avons proposé également des amendements dans l'annexe 1 de la recommandation 7.2.1.4. Est-ce que vous voulez que je les explicite également tout de suite, ou est-ce que vous voulez que je les présente ultérieurement?
Please go ahead.
Merci. Alors, avant tout, je tiens à préciser que la France comprend totalement la demande telle qu'elle a été formulée par la task force et l'esprit des recommandations qu'elle a faites. Malgré tout, le vote électronique pour une élection nominative à bulletin secret n'est pas une bonne pratique et doit demeurer un dernier recours. L'Assemblée générale des Nations unies l'a rappelé récemment, que le vote en personne demeurait la norme. La raison pour cela est très claire, c'est que actuellement, il n'existe pas de système de vote électronique à distance faisant appel au réseau Internet qui soit sûr et fiable. Notre pays en a été personnellement victime il y a 3 ans et c'est pour ça que nous sommes particulièrement sensibles. Néanmoins, nous reconnaissons tout à fait qu'il y a un besoin spécifique à l'OMM, par exemple par les nominations dans les associations régionales. Et nous devons nous adapter à l'évolution des techniques et aux situations exceptionnelles comme une pandémie, par exemple. C'est pourquoi l'amendement que nous proposons et qui est bien reflété dans, je crois, sur cette annexe 1, repose sur 2 idées. Première idée, avant tout, faire une distinction plus claire entre les décisions, c'est le paragraphe B, les décisions pour lesquelles le vote électronique est acceptable, et les élections. Il s'agit des paragraphes C et D. Sachant qu'à l'OMM, les élections sont toujours à bulletin secret, et c'est justement dans le cas où il y a un vote secret que le recours à l'électronique est sensible. En effet, il n'y a pas de vérification humaine directe de ce que le système a voté en votre nom. Donc, deuxièmement, dans le cas où une réunion physique n'est pas possible pour une élection, un vote autre que en personne par papier doit être possible, mais cette modalité devrait être validée à l'avance par les membres concernés. C'est ce que nous décrivons au paragraphe D. Et c'est justement pour faciliter cette validation que nous proposons que parallèlement, le secrétariat clarifie les modalités de vote par email ou par voie électronique pour les rendre acceptables par tous, comme je l'ai expliqué précédemment. Petite précision, petit ajout, nous proposons que le vote électronique ne soit pas possible pour la nomination du ou de la secrétaire générale. Voilà, en conclusion, je pense que notre amendement respecte parfaitement le côté pragmatique de la proposition faite par la task force, tout en précisant certains points et en envisageant les étapes à venir. J'espère que la salle pourra approuver ces amendements. Merci.
So thank you for those explanations. And if the room agrees, I would suggest that since this was the last amendment that we had to look at, that we start again from the beginning of the document and see if we can clean a bit or most of it and let only those issues that need discussion remain. So if there's agreement in that way of proceeding, I would ask Vanessa to guide us through what we reviewed yesterday.
Good afternoon, everybody. We'll start from the very top of the document with the eligibility requirements for persons competing for the position of Secretary General. The first recommendation that the task force is making is 7.2.1 under Annex 1. Annex 1, please. Page 6. So here we have the amendment of Regulation 63. The black text is what is currently in the regulations, and what is highlighted in green is what the task force is requesting to be included for foolproofing of this section. I'll just take a moment for everyone to read and see if we have agreement on this particular section or if we have any comments. Seeing that we have no flags up, we can go to Regulation 149 on the next page. Same page. Again, A is the text as it currently exists. B is what the task force is recommending for adoption. Do we have any comments on this text? I'd like to note that in the previous original text, B was Regulation 150, but to accommodate these editorial changes, B was moved to Regulation 149. It's not new text that has been introduced.
دانيال تفضل.
Yes, thank you very much for your for recognizing me. My apologies for not being there in person, and again, my apologies for my appearance. With regards to candidates applying for the position of secretary should have at least 10 years experience. The only advice I would give to you is that clearly at D1 or D2 level, the required experience is 15 years. So you will be lowering the requirement in comparison to other people within the organization. So I just caution you in relation to that element of it. I'll stop on this point A, and then we can proceed to the other specific areas on B. But just on that area, do you want to have a lowering of the years of experience?
I'd like to note that now on Regulation 150, as we didn't receive any comments for 149. That's the original text.
سيد تشارلز عفوا. سيد تشارلز.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Mine is just on the A part there, the and or 10 years experience. I'm trying to wrap my head around interpretation of that particular sentence. When you say shall with all the requirement, and then you come to that part, are you saying or 10 years experience in executive management, that if such a person possesses 10 years executive management and doesn't have the preceding ones, is acceptable or what? So there is need for clarification with that and or that is there. Thank you.
Johnson.
I'm happy to wait, Chair, because I was going to raise another point. So if the Secretariat or others wanted to respond to that particular point, I'll come back in a minute.
ممكن الإجابة على سؤال السيد تشارلز؟ دانيال تفضل. الإجابة على سؤال السيد تشارلز.
Yes. Of course, Mr. President. So essentially, the way the task force was looking at this was that essentially you have a number of choices. You can have clearly somebody with an extensive scientific background, and then the question is, well, what about the management part of it? Clearly, you needed somebody with executive management experience. So because you're running a secretariat, you're running an organization, so clearly there was an element of having that part in the requirement. But then the question arose as to whether or not, as a Secretary General, do you always only need to be a scientist? Is there the opportunity to say, actually, maybe we can expand this beyond just science, beyond scientists in terms of what is the requirement of Secretary General? So there's this sort of flexibility in having this additional requirement. So that's why it's there. So, I mean, you can keep it and 10 years experience in executive management, so you have a combination. Or you could have that as an alternative. It's merely sort of future-proofing in terms of what would you like or what would you perceive as a good Secretary General in the future? Is it merely just scientific, or is it beyond that? Or is it just a combination of the two, science and executive management? So that's why the flexibility is there. I'll stop there.
شكرا. سيد تشارلز.
I don't know about my English. I'm just thinking probably after that and or we should have with and because for me the way I'm reading this is if you satisfy the first part and you want to use the word and, then it goes with the other one. That's option 1. But if you read it the other way around with the or, the meaning is changed completely. Meaning that you either have the preceding one or you possess the next one. That is the point I'm trying to make.
Thank you. And that is actually a discussion that took place in the task force for quite a long time. So your question is, and your comment is correct. But this was what the task force came to as a conclusion of those discussions. So I don't know if anyone else would like to comment on this.
Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not sure I can hit quite that point, but I did just want to clarify how we're moving forward. So we, as yesterday, taking all of the comments and then having the drafting team this evening, or are we trying to complete the document? And because otherwise I'd come back to, if we're trying to complete it now, then I would want to come back to what Daniel said about the experience and the time. But if we're planning to take all the comments now and come to the drafting team, then we can get back to the details in the drafting team tonight. And I apologize if I should have, if I should know this and missed it.
شكرا سيدي. تفضل حسيني.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President. I think, non, je vais parler en français. C'est pour rejoindre mon collègue du Nigeria. Je pense que ce qu'il a dit, c'est vraiment important. Il faut qu'on ne peut pas dire et où. Là, ça gêne vraiment parce que sinon, vous savez, des tests juridiques, là, quand ce n'est pas clair, c'est sujet à des interprétations. Chacun va essayer d'interpréter en sa faveur. Donc, voilà pourquoi il est conseillé de choisir. Et ici, je pense que le choix opportun, c'est et. Il doit avoir 10 ans d'expérience dans les domaines de la météorologie, l'hydrologie, les sciences environnementales et 10 ans d'expérience dans le management exécutif. Le mot qui convient, je pense, c'est « et », parce que c'est un poste de haut niveau. Et un poste de haut niveau, on ne peut pas dire on va être seulement scientifique sans, au préalable, et diriger une direction. Ça, c'est important. Donc, je pense qu'il faut vraiment choisir, et le mot qui convient, c'est le « et ». Et on enlève le « ou ». Et c'est mon avis là-dessus. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
شكرا. تفضلي سارة.
Thank you very much. Yes, I would support the view, and I think that was a view discussed in the task team, that it's the combination that's important. So I think we want to express a combination of scientific, well, not necessarily scientific experience in meteorology, hydrology, environmental sciences, with appropriate experience in executive management. We want to be careful that we're not making it 20 years. So I think we need to just have one number and a combination of experience, because I think in other similar posts that we've discussed recently, we would expect someone to bring management experience to this position. And the other thing is I will refer back then to Daniel's clarification, and I certainly see an issue if we expect a higher level of experience from a director's post than we expect from the Secretary General's post. So I don't think we've reached solution on this issue yet. So I'll leave it up to the chair to when we try and how we try and resolve it. But yeah, to summarize, I think the Secretary General should be at least as experienced as the directors who they're working for, without putting the barrier too high. And we do need executive management competence, in my view.
Yeah.
Yeah, just contemplating this, but I know that you need a filter for the selection committee and all the rest of it, but given the debate that's going on, if you just deleted A in its entirety, when candidates submit their candidature, when they write in, obviously they'll have a CV, and it will be up to the individual members to actually decide what they think is an appropriate level of experience given the information that is on that candidature. So taking out A completely kind of solves that problem, and then members will make their own decision about what they deem to be an appropriate level of executive management or an appropriate level of experience in the fields of military. I'm not suggesting we do that. I'm just saying that is one option for you to explore. Thank you.
شكرا لك. جونسون.
Thank you, Chair. Back to the point around the years of experience, similar to Sarah Jones, I'd like to support the retention of the original 15 years experience. I think, yeah, we wouldn't want to have a level of experience of an SG that may be lower than directors within the organisation. So I think 15 is an appropriate number. Agree also that we should delete the additional 10 years experience proposal that's been added in there in yellow, because that makes it sound like they'll need 15 plus 10. And I support actually keeping this clause A, just to provide some context on the boundaries upon which we're keen to encourage candidates to come forward for the position of Secretary General. This gives them some context. Thank you.
شكرا سيدتي أبدار.
Thank you, Chair. I also just want to agree with the 15 years. It doesn't make sense to have 10 years when your subordinates have 15 years experience. But I just want to go back to what Daniel was saying. When we discussed this in the task team, I think the principal issue that the EC needs to decide is, do you want somebody with the meteorology, hydrology, environmental science experience as a sort of basic standard for the post? Or would you consider somebody who has the management experience and not necessarily the technical experience? And that's why we put in the and/or there, to allow that flexibility, because this is a regulation and you have to follow that regulation. So I have no preference either way, but what EC needs to decide is, do you want somebody only with that technical capability to manage the organization? Alternatively, would you be open to somebody who has the executive management experience that can also run the organization, and you don't necessarily need a combination of the two? So I think that's the principal issue, and that would guide how you would draft, and whether you take out the and the or kind of situation. We just put it in because it is regulation and to allow for that flexibility. Thank you.
شكرا. Kenneth.
Thank you. Right. So I know that we lent our support to the original language yesterday, and we just want to reiterate that support. I know there was a lengthy discussion in the task force and then following the policy advisory committee, where we did think that some criteria, albeit it could make it easier, is necessary when doing the review of candidates, gives some bound to that. And then additionally, we did think that if you look at the executive management group of the Secretary General, the Deputy Secretary General, and the Assistant Secretary General collectively, and there was some combination of executive leadership outside of a physical science, maybe in a social science, and then coupled with other sciences, maybe a meteorologist and a hydrologist, or environmental scientists and a meteorologist. But together, those three who have purview over the entire organization, we think would make a very robust way to lead an organization. So we do think it's important that you can have more than just a technical or physical science background. So again, retain the original language.
شكرا.
Thank you. So if I may just suggest it, and just answering first the question, I do suggest that we do take all comments here, and if necessary, that I think will be necessary, we will continue in the drafting committee from 5:15 to 7 in room C2 for all of those who are interested. And can I suggest that we go back to the 15 years? There seems to be a consensus here, agreement in going back to the 15 years and in going back on that issue to the original language from the task force. And we can take more comments on the and or, but there seems to be no agreement on going for the and.
شكرا جوزيفين. سكول.
Thanks, Mr. President. I took down my flag because Josefina just said what I meant to say. Thanks.
تفضل.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to agree with colleagues that are suggesting to retain the 15 years. But I'm also thinking out loud, if perhaps the and/or is replaced with at least 10 years of experience in executive management. In that way, you're perhaps suggesting that part of that 15 years should include at least 10 years at the executive level. Thanks.
Husseini.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Et moi, au-delà du « et », il y a un autre terme qui pose problème. Parce que j'ai l'impression que même quand j'écoute, on dirait qu'il y a une confusion. Quand on dit direction exécutive, en français, direction exécutive, c'est les membres du conseil d'administration. Je ne sais pas comment je vais le dire en anglais. Ce n'est pas un DG ou un directeur. Direction exécutive, c'est les membres du conseil d'administration, par exemple, et on doit préciser de qui? De l'OMM ou bien de... Parce que là, on dit direction exécutive, on doit dire peut-être de quelle institution. Ajouter si c'est de l'OMM. Et direction exécutive, ça ne veut pas dire un directeur ou un directeur général. C'est un membre du conseil d'administration de l'OMM. C'est-à-dire que c'est parmi les gens de haut niveau qui peuvent postuler. Ce n'est pas, par exemple, les directeurs, j'ai été directeur pays en hydrologie ou en météo, je peux postuler. Donc, c'est le membre du conseil, c'est comme ça que je comprends. En français, la direction exécutive, c'est ce que ça veut dire. Mais en anglais, je ne sais pas. Est-ce qu'on veut élargir au directeur pays? Il faut que ça soit bien clair. Merci.
شكرا لك سيدي. شكرا. تفضل.
Gracias, presidente. Atendiendo a lo que el colega está comentando, puede que entre traducción y traducción tengamos algún inconveniente, pero creo que al final, no sé si voy a generar conflicto, pero en Executive Management in NMHS, puede ser, en servicios meteorológicos e hidrológicos, entonces creo que ahí cuadra algo más el hecho de una administración de algo de lo que es el componente de la OMM. Gracias.
شكرا. Kenneth.
Thank you. So for that addition, then what we've effectively done is say that only people that have worked in a Met service around the country, so pulling from 196 or so entities could ever lead our organization. And I think, at least for me, and for our thinking when we went into the task force, and then the discussion in the task force, is that leading an organization doesn't always mean you have to be top of your science. Being top of your science doesn't always mean you have the executive qualities to lead an organization. What we really need is to find the best candidate at the moment in time when we need that candidate. And so we were attempting to try to be as broad with at least enough specificity to say, hey, these are the qualities that we want to draw from somebody. We can imagine a world in which we had a technical leader, but they were demonstrated through their CV and other means, their ability to lead an organization. We also could see somebody that had been in executive management, and to the point, yes, maybe they ran a board, maybe they ran a private equity firm, maybe they ran a school, but they ran it really well, and they had the accomplishments to prove it. And they came forward with enough credentials that we thought they may be able to run this organization. So we weren't trying to limit it by saying only people that come from NMHSs can run for Secretary General. So we would not prefer to have that level of specificity added to this paragraph. Thanks.
شكرا لك. بني.
Thank you, Chair, and I would like to support the advisor to Mr. Graham on that. And I would also go further and say, when you start to break it out like this, given most people wouldn't get to executive management till they'd done 15 or 20 years in their technical field already, you're going to put an unexpected age barrier on. And I also think you would exclude most people in the room. I would have met neither of these criteria when I took on the Met Office. And I wonder how many of our previous Secretary Generals would have met them as well, if you have to meet both.
شكرا لك. جونسون. آخر رأي ناخذه جونسون.
I won't repeat what's already been said, but support the comments made by Penny Endersby and the advisor to Dr. Graham. I think we keep the original language. Thanks.
شكرا لك. الساعة الآن 4:50. شكرا جزيلا على آرائكم ومقترحاتكم، وسوف تشكل لجنة صياغة هذا المساء، وسوف تضع لنا الصيغة المناسبة حتى يتم مناقشتها غدا صباحا. Josephine, you have anything to say? I will close. Yeah.
You go to.
Oh, yeah, no, but Josephine, you have anything in this?
Yes, thank you. So what I would say, and taking note that we will be moving into the drafting committee in 5 minutes, but please bear in mind that it starts 5:15 and not at 5. I would then say we retain the 15, and for the rest of the paragraph, I would encourage members to consult from 5 to 5:15 and see if we can have a solution, a quick solution on that, and continue quickly into the 1 or 3 months when we start in the drafting committee. Thank you.
ممكن لجنة الصياغة برئاسة من تذكري برئاسة من جوزيفين؟ برئاسة من سوف تكون؟
Yes. So sorry about that. The drafting committee will be chaired by Roar Scallin. Thank you for accepting the challenge.
شكرا. إذن سأعطي الكلمة لفريق الجلسة لإعلان تهمة وجدت.
The only announcement was the drafting committee, and I think Josefina did a great job, so I'll defer to her. A good evening to everybody.
شكرا لكم، وبهذا نختتم الجلسة المسائية لهذا اليوم. شكرا لكم وليلة موفقة إن شاء الله. شكرا.